Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guests, Adam Reau and Paul McCaullough. And they're here today to share with us not only their company, O2X, but also their new book, Human Performance for Tactical Athletes. Now, Adam is a co-founder of O2X and a former Navy SEAL. Adam was the first successful candidate to pass SEAL training directly from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and he went on to have a very successful career as a SEAL officer. He's also the founder of a nonprofit called One Summit that helps connect special operation warriors with children battling cancer. Paul McCaullough is also a former Navy SEAL and spent his career in the Navy SEAL Team 8 and Naval Special Warfare Development Group. Throughout his service, Paul conducted numerous combat deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and many other operations. So let's welcome to the show Adam Reau and Paul McCaullough.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, what a pleasure and honor it is to have you both here. And of course, I want to say thank you both for your service. I mean, you guys show what true Americans are all about and what heroes are all about. And I'm so excited that we get to talk not only about your book, but your company, O2X, and how it's helping first responders and pretty much any of our tactical athletes.
Yeah, we're excited to share a story about O2X and, kind of highlight the information in our book and what it could do for people out there.
Awesome. Well, so why don't we start with, both of you, Adam and Paul, how did you two meet and how did this even come into being?
Paul and I were teammates in the SEAL teams for, just a little under 12 years. And, we kind of met out at SEAL training, pretty much right after 9/11. We both had pretty mirrored careers. So we served a lot together, served along in the East Coast. And over that time, we became really good friends. So it's been about 17 years now that we've known each other. And, leaving the service, and taking off the uniform, we had a lot of thoughts about what was next. Where is our ways to, continue to serve, what we can do for others. We both had a passion of helping other people, and other groups and organizations and people that are making extreme sacrifices for us every day. And a lot of that is our tactical community. So the fire, police, EMS, the military, all those in, the government service. And we were passionate about it because of our background. So it's been 17 years now, but O2X Human Performance, we've been in business for 5 years now, and excited to kind of share our education program and training with tactical athletes and other elite organizations across the country.
So when the two of you decided, okay, we're going to start working on this together, was it something that just kind of took time and kind of blossomed, or was it something that you really kind of planned out, this is how it's going to be?
No, I'd say probably took time and blossomed a little bit. Adam always makes a joke, and I think it's true. When we put this together, it was like we had two business plans. One was a brewery and one was human performance. And ultimately, we decided to go with human performance. No, I'd say, what we're doing, we're both passionate about. But it definitely came, I don't want to say out of a shock, but what happens when you spend, I think it's pretty common with a lot of military members when they get out of the service. I never thought what I was going to do when I got out of the service. I only thought, coming out of high school, or whether people are coming out of high school or college to go into the service, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and Adam wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and that's really all you think about. And then for me, in particularly, I have 4 kids now. I had 2, and my wife was pregnant with our third when we decided to get out. That was the main reason why I decided to make the move to get out personally. But I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. And so I'd say that yes, this was a natural fit for us to focus on areas that we're passionate about, but more importantly, kind of what we're doing, serving a purpose and kind of having a meaning and building a company with an unbelievable culture was a key component for us. But when I got out, it took maybe, I'd say, a year to get this thing up and running. Adam went to grad school right when he got out, and sort of in that process of him going through grad school and us throwing out these business plans, we really kind of stumbled on this human performance idea. And what we were thinking at the time for human performance wasn't too much different than it is now. But as you know, from starting a company from scratch, you got to be adaptive and change. And I think the issues that we stumbled upon in military units, law enforcement agencies, fire departments from across the country, it's funny, they're consistent nationwide. I guess not funny, but they are consistent nationwide. And our program has really expanded and grown because of that consistency, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah, man, it's nice that, when Paul and I, obviously an immense amount of trust and respect for each other, and as teammates and then close friends and our families knowing each other. I mean, we wanted to build a company that was a family, and had strong values, trust, integrity, over delivering on our product and service, just being a resource for other organizations or clients to come to, and that we were extremely reliable. Culture is something that we talk to a lot. We don't really talk a lot about at O2X. We just try to build it right, take care of every individual in the company, make it a solid framework and foundation for people who can work the rest of their lives and make an impact. It's exciting to kind of see where it's growing. I think every startup, every company, morphs into more and more something that you maybe didn't originally plan. And we spend and take a great deal of pride in listening to the tactical communities, other lead organizations, of what those challenges and problems are, and then be able to really listen well and come up with creative solutions for these problems that they're having. And if you take the background in the special operations community, our job was to see further, faster, to identify problems and that there wasn't any solutions for. So we had to be creative with the team that we had to find those solutions and implement them effectively and quick. And so we're taking that same model and doing that within the human performance realm.
It's pretty astounding what the two of you are doing. And I mean, you have quite a few other people that are supportive. I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of the experts that also weigh in.
Sure. So our pillars of performance are sleep, nutrition, conditioning, stress management, and resilience. So we boil those 5 pillars into our Eat, Sweat, and Thrive model. So that's our methodology. Eat being nutrition, sweat being the conditioning, injury prevention, the Thrive being really a lot what's between the ears. So completely holistic. And we appreciate, learning from the best in practice. We want to know who's on the cutting edge of all these fields, and most importantly, who are really good teachers and practitioners. Paul and I are able to culturally understand the organizations that we work with and effectively deliver a creative solution. But our nutritionists and registered dietitians, they're working in national labs, working in, research facilities for the Department of Defense. They're Olympic training centers. Our psychologists are leading the charge in post-traumatic stress disorder, mental health, a lot on the mental side and the resilience side of the game, and post-traumatic growth. Obviously, a lot of our organizations we work with have a lot of high stress and are dealing with a lot of trauma. We also have sports psychologists, work with top individuals and athletes. We also have sleep specialists. We deal a lot with individuals with sleep work, or people going through pretty significant, time zone changes and kind of work with long haul travelers. So we work with them as well. So to be able to merge all those worlds together and get the best in practice that are out there, the people that are on the cutting edge, that are leading the research, but then us collating that curriculum and delivering a world-class education program. Our job is, our clients are out there on the leading edge and protecting us every day. It's our responsibility to them to maintain, to be the world leader in human performance education and also the effective training and implementation of that.
Well, I'm just impressed immensely with the both of you and what you're doing at O2X. I mean, my goodness, our heroes do need that kind of support. And you kind of touched on this a little bit. I'd love for you to expand a little bit more for our listeners. What are some of the problems that you're seeing consistently, regardless if someone's working for the fire department, police department, in the military?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that kind of highlights what I was talking about with the consistency from the problems across the country. So when we first started working with Boston Fire 4 to 5 years ago, it was sort of luck and timing in our part. Like, we had some work happening with a lot of sport teams, Harvard hockey and UNH soccer and Chicago Blackhawks we work with now for a lot of the mental performance training for their prospects, and that kind of realm of people. And we didn't have a fire department or a law enforcement agency at the time. We had some work a little bit with some small military units, but nothing really in the kind of first responder space. And so we lucked out. We had my brother-in-law's on Boston Fire, have some close friends on Boston Fire, and we got a meeting with Commissioner Finn. And he was relatively new at the time, and there was a bit of this regime change happening. And so it really worked in our favor, I think, from a leader that stepped in, that put health and wellness of his members at the highest priority. We're Boston Fire's oldest fire department in the country, super traditional. And with all that tradition, there's so many positive pieces with it, from like the brotherhood to, just a close-knit community. But with that tradition, oftentimes with any of these type of units, there's some toxic cocktails that happen, and a lot of them happen mostly from the neck up type stuff. But with when Joe Finn came in, I'd say he was heavily looking at the orthopedic injuries. They're right around 1,500 firefighters, and they were having somewhere between 150, I want to say, to 180 orthopedic injuries a year on the job. Shoulder injuries was a huge highlight for him at the time. And I remember the first conversation, just hearing about how many shoulder injuries are happening a year. And so he was like, "Hey, what can you do for us on these, on these orthopedic injuries? Can you help with this?" And for us, that was the easy button. We're like, "Yeah, of course. We can do a lot of prehab, rehab, strength and conditioning, dynamic warm-ups, mobility, functional movement, all that kind of stuff to try to put a dent in the orthopedic injuries." But he was, I think, progressive enough and smart enough to allow us to take our methodology and expand upon this idea that human performance is not physical fitness, right? Human performance is well-rounded, and let us see what else is going on, in the department. And when we were able to do that, the stuff that we learned about was, quite frankly, pretty alarming. They had, like I said, all those orthopedic injuries. They had cardiac events on a regular basis. Maybe not all of them were heart attacks. A lot of them were, but a lot of times when you get a heart attack in these professions, they can be career-ending, forced retirement, or obviously, of course, you can lose your life. Then they had cancer through the roof. They still are averaging every 3 weeks, I think, a new cancer case on Boston. That is a huge problem in the fire service. Cancer is just an epidemic, and part of it is the lifestyle, right? From the breathing the stuff that they're not supposed to breathe from car fires, or their gear, or these houses are super old, and the trucks are pulling in and out areas where it might be near a kitchen where they're eating their food. So cancer is through the roof. And then the last piece is this whole Thrive topic here. We're talking about the mental health from behavioral health. So everything from post-traumatic stress disorder, sleep issues, PTSD, the issues from the behavioral health side of the house, from issues out in town to suicides, is horrible, and it's consistent nationwide. And so what we were able to do is take our kind of complete approach with Boston in a format where we were to train up sort of a few members from each house, and then they would bring this information back to the house. And we've learned over the course of time that sort of format, while it works okay with some of these groups, it's really challenging to just train up a small portion of individuals and tell them to bring back all this content of, cardiac issues, behavioral health, cancer, orthopedic injuries, and tell them that we're going to send, let's put 30 people in a 2,000 person agency through our program, and they're going to bring all this information back to everyone. And so we just learned with time that no one's going to come through any of our programs and leave as a dietitian, a strength and conditioning coach, a resilience expert, a mental performance coach, nutrition, whatever. Like, they're not going to leave as all these things. And so what we've done with Boston is we've taken a look at all these consistent issues from a complete approach to performance, and we're trying to deliver training and education to the masses. And so what we do at this point is we customize this training, and we have a whole sustainment program that goes along with it. So these right around 100 or so human performance experts that we have on staff that are subject matter experts in these fields that Adam was talking about, we have those people on retainer for members to connect to. They go through our training. We customize training that they can do while on shift or on the job, or they can go through training while they're, 4-day curriculum or whatever. With the idea of saying, let's get this training to the masses. And then after we get this training to the masses, let's supplying a bunch of resources from our sustainment program, from mobility screenings, body comp screenings, our tactical athlete portal, our access to our experts, our human performance manual. And what we do is we don't look at this as trying to be like a one and done. We think this is a huge problem in an underserved population, and we just try to throw as much kind of ongoing resources to these groups as we can on a regular basis. And then by doing so, we're able to prove, substantial results from a cost saving standpoint, but also I'd say the biggest thing that we've done with these departments is small tweaks in culture change. And those culture changes are, I think, what has, one, put us on the map, but has also, from a city perspective, from a budget standpoint, is what's helped with the bottom line, which a lot of these cities, unfortunately, have to be looking at, because getting budget for this type of stuff can be difficult.
I can understand that would be difficult, but it's so necessary, because when we look at our first responders and people who are in the military, this is something that they really need in moving forward. And do you find that because of your background, your respective backgrounds, that people have a greater sense of respect for the both of you and your company because you understand what they've been through and you can kind of help them get to wherever it is they're looking to go?
I think it's definitely trust there because of the background, because of our experiences, but also because of they see the passion that not only that we have in delivering like a world-class program, but the specialists as well. They definitely know that we've been like practitioners of this. I mean, a lot of the reason why we came up with the model we did is because, we saw firsthand in the military that the tempo and pace was tough to sustain. We're at, significant amount of consecutive years now with, sustained combat operations, and to sustain that high level performance over time is challenging. We're preparing people for 30-year careers. These are professional, these are professions that are not 3.5 years like the average career of an NFL player. These are long duration careers. So how do we sustain that high level performance over time? And we talk about that because, we looked at the energy management, the short and long-term memory. We looked at, the issues with sleep and shift work. We looked at the injury rate, just how overall we all felt towards the end of our career, but also looked around at our teammates and like, we have to be able to do this better. How can we create something that is sustainable? How can we talk about performance, longevity, and durability? And when we tell our stories and our specialists, and they see the passion through our specialists, they really, they get on board. So like, there is a problem. No one debates what the challenges are. What's what's innovative is guys like leaders like Commissioner Joe Finn, and we work with all throughout DC, Maryland, Virginia, Florida, Montana, Texas. Look at these areas, these departments, whether it's police, fire, military, EMS. Those are the ones that are like stepping up. Like, we need to make this a priority. We need to do more for our men. We demand a lot of them, but we need to take care of them.
Yeah, I'll echo on that. I think that what you see now is it really depends on the leadership, right? So there's some leaders that we've seen that are, I think, stuck in their ways, and I guess that's fine, but they're not going to create those culture changes. You have to be willing to look outside the box, and a lot of the organizations that we work with all stem from leadership that's willing to kind of try to tackle this head on at a complete approach, recognize the issues at hand. I think what you're getting to with your question is 100% fair. I think part of the reason why is that trust, but we have practitioners in all of our trainings, and these practitioners are, whether they're former SEALs or Green Berets or former firefighters or Army Rangers or Delta guys or whoever it is that's part of our brand from a practitioner standpoint. Those people speak the same language as these law enforcement officers or these firefighters or these guys in these military units. To be able to do that, I think is difficult and rare, and I think that's why anyone could grab a nutritionist and say, hey, come in and talk to this group. But being able to tie it all together and say, hey, how does this apply to me as a 15-year SWAT guy or whatever? Like, they want someone that understands what they do on a day-to-day basis, and without that, I don't think we'd be able to tweak that culture.
It's been fascinating to see because of the large volume and the different departments and big groups and the unique groups that we're working with, that as it pertains to performance, we've seen the impact, and that word's gotten out. It has trickled over into like professional sports and collegiate sports. We've seen corporations, like regularly request us to come in and kind of help out with their executives or their external sales teams and different departments that are like, hey, we need an organizational change here as well. So the breadth of the education can really, it spans the spectrum.
Yeah, it's actually thinking about like, who is your ideal client? Because we've heard of cities, and I'm thinking fire departments and police departments. Who else is an ideal fit?
Yeah, so obviously we talked about the military, police, the EMS, fire, of course. But then, the ideal client is, the leaders in the organizations that value their individuals, and like, they know that they have tough, challenging jobs. They're high pace, high tempo, but they need to take care of them to sustain that level of performance over time. So we've done quite a bit of work in the financial sector. Obviously, professional sports is, it's a business, right? They have to win, right? There's their job from a professional sports team is to build a franchise that wins and continues to do things for the community, but also bring in money. And we see the same as within organizations. Like, the organizations, we expect a lot. They expect a lot from their people. They demand a lot, but they have to have some sort of program that kind of gives them the tools to succeed and also sustain some sort of pace. Because going harder for faster for longer, and then just kicking up the treadmill faster and faster and kicking the incline up over and over, that'll lead to burnout. We're not telling people to throttle back. We're just giving people the tools to sustain a pace like that. So we've seen it come back. A lot of our work is in the tactical space, but we've seen obviously, collegiate athletes or colleges or students. We all know, probably from middle school all the way up. I mean, there's all sorts of challenges now with electronics and sleep and managing stress. And we see it across the spectrum. So it's been fascinating to kind of see where the eat, sweat, thrive model and where it applies to different organizations and where we can culturally fit it in.
Well, again, I think you guys are doing an astounding job. And congratulations, by the way. I heard you just released a new book, and I'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the book that we released is, this is me saying it, but I think it's pretty awesome. What's cool about this book is that when we started doing this training and education for a wide variety of agencies, it really became made out of a necessity, right? So picture putting on training and you might have 30 people or you might have 150 people, depending on how you're customizing this. And clearly you need deliverables, right? So we just have content beyond content from 100 different human performance experts that we're trying to get to all speak the same methodology. And so we'd be printing out 300-page binders, thousands of them on a regular basis to bring this up, and we customize these binders. So very quickly it became like, okay, we need to turn this thing into a manual. And I think what's awesome about this manual is that it kind of serves two purposes. One is that we can actually teach off this thing, because nothing we have is a fad, right? So we're not talking about pushing the O2X, nutrition plan, or here's the O2X workout that you have to do, right? We talk about everything from quality, quantity, timing of food and blood sugar stabilization. And we talk about our prepare, sweat, recover with strength and conditioning and, the mental performance side. So it's very much a complete approach, but it's not a fad, right? So we teach off this program as if you're going through History 101 at a university or whatever. But in the same sense, it's also a great read, right? Where it's broken down. I don't want to say stupid simple. There's a lot of science behind it. It's science-backed, evidence-based. You really can't poke holes in it from the amount of people that put their kind of hands in the pot to put this book together. But it's a great read to just, having your book at the airport or whatever, while you're traveling. There's a lot of people that read this thing cover to cover, and then they just keep it as a resource, from workouts on the road to healthy tips while they're traveling, or, they want something on mindfulness, or they want something on visualization, or they want something on, how to get big, how to run a marathon, right? It's very much a complete approach. We have awesome endorsements in there, which I think has helped for the sort of the buy-in for people that don't know who O2X is. Former Secretary of Defense, former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld wrote the foreword, which is really cool. Former General McChrystal is endorsed in it. Ted Donato from Harvard Hockey. James Kerr, and a former Boston Bruin. James Kerr wrote the book Legacies in it. And then, of course, the book is full of all these vignettes from all these people that have overcome adversity in their own lives to personal stories from our subject matter experts. And so I think the book has taken off. It's taken off big time with the tactical athlete population, but we've actually done really well with private corporations, like Adam mentioned, with like private equity firms or financial services that just want an edge and kind of put human performance at the top of their agenda. And they've done a lot of bought books for their sales team or whatever, and we've had nothing but really great feedback from the manual. So it's been exciting watching that thing kind of get off the shelves and get out there. And I mean, it's new. I mean, we just released this thing within 6 months, right? 4 to 6 months ago, and it's been pretty successful.
It was an awesome journey for us. It was long. I mean, Paul and I certainly we did not produce any books before this one, but it was quite an experience for us, and it was such a collaborative effort with the whole team. All of our specialists got involved. We wanted to make sure that it was, the most cutting edge book that was out there in human performance, and it holistically covered everything from head to toe, inside and out. And it took 2.5 years to put together. I was very, very proud of it, but very proud of the team that was able to kind of pull together and pull it together and make sure that the references and resources were the most up to date, and it's the most current book out there.
Yeah, and I think the title could throw some people off. For anyone that wants to, not throw people off, but we say human performance of tactical athletes. That's clearly our bread and butter and who we're focusing on. But it's important to kind of recognize, like, what is a tactical athlete? When we're talking about tactical athletes, we're really highlighting people that they don't have a season, right? They're not people that are trying to have a 3-year career, not necessarily in like a professional sports league. They're people that have 30-year careers. There's no preseason, postseason. There's no, it's not so regimented. We're looking for people that, like Adam said, it's not turning on the treadmill as fast and as it can go with the highest incline. It's people that have a level of mental performance requirements. Definitely some fitness requirements, but kind of jack of all trades, master of none. People that are trying to really maintain high levels of performance over time, not like a 1 rep max. And I think that applies to anyone that's trying to kind of ride the performance cycle.
Yeah, I was really surprised by what's in the book itself and found it to be a great resource. And, I've read it, loved it. I'm going to reread it because it's got so much information. And where can people not only learn about the book, but learn more about what O2X does?
Yeah, O2X.com. So that's O is in oxygen, or VO2 max, kind of where we got our name from, but www.O2X.com. And then they can buy the book directly on Amazon.
And if we have people who are in charge of fire departments or captains of police, chiefs of police or what have you, that can get in touch with you, they would do it there as well, right?
Yep, there's a request form in there for whether it's departments or organizations that are looking to bring a human performance program or kind of get an edge and look at taking care of their people. They can go right through the website, and it redirects, or info@O2X.com. But you can do that right online, right on O2X.com, and it goes right to Paul and I. So we handle all those inbounds directly.
Yeah, and I think the highlight there is that, like, we're willing to customize for anyone that wants to reach out, even if it's not someone that wants to reach out to try to necessarily work with us. We're happy to help out in any way. By sharing information and being collaborative. For us, it's we're really trying to make an impact in this space, and I think we are. And I think like we said earlier, it definitely is an underserved population, and anything we can do to help, definitely feel free to reach out, either info@O2X.com or the website or whatever, and we'll do whatever we can to help.
Well, thank you both, Paul and Adam, for everything that you're doing. Gosh, I'm a big supporter of your work. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Adam and Paul. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you, and of course to talk about not only O2X, but your new book, Human Performance for Tactical Athletes. Again, if you'd like to connect with Adam and Paul, you can at O2X.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.